Hello, and welcome to How to Play D&D, the Explainer podcast where one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter discuss D&D topics. My name is Lewis McCaffery, and my incredibly inadequate pod partner is Connor Kinsey. Hello, Connor.
Hello. You were expecting me to introduce myself?
Yeah, no, I'm just really proud of myself that I didn't stutter or... Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I'm blushing. I'm proud.
I was like... I cried.
Yeah.
It was like watching The Princess Diaries all over again.
Oh, I finally stopped edging. I'm that pleased.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
Great. So how's life? How's your week been?
Yeah, good. I wish I could stop edging.
I'm edging right now.
Week's been good. Bit colder now in Manchester.
It's fucking freezing now. Yeah, it's been a drastic change.
It's and I guess when this comes out, it's way into the future. It's actually Christmas time-ish.
Well, we're back from the past.
Yeah, we're currently in November, the beginning of November when we're recording this.
The 5th. Is it the 5th of November?
It is the 5th of November.
Remember. The 5th of November. It's the right date, isn't it? Perfect. Yeah. I wondered. I was have I got that right?
I actually questioned it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have done an episode on terrorism.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that would actually be a really cool session idea. Maybe we'll do that next year. Yeah. So stay tuned.
Look forward to us getting swatted when we talk about terrorism in D&D.
It's great. Hey,
imagine if it was swatted, but it's just loads of knights turned up with bows.
That'd be beautiful. Amazing. You know what? If we do ever get Tom Hanks on the podcast, that's the episode we should invite him to. Just don't tell him anything.
Invite him. The door's open. He comes in. We're not. He gets swatted.
Bye, Stuart Little. That'd be beautiful.
Fucker. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tom Hanks.
Sorry, Tom. It's Christmas.
Yeah. So we are still on season 3. We've spoken about all 14 classes so far.
We have, yes.
Can you guess what today's episode is about?
I don't. I know. I can't because we've gone through the classes.
Well,
we've done all the topics.
If you don't guess it, we're not doing it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is it Jar Jar Binks?
Oh, damn it. I didn't think you'd actually get it. So.
I looked at the board. It says nothing about Star Wars. Jar Jar Binks. That's what came to my head.
Jar Jar Binks. Have you seen that thing? If you have a jar and fill it with loads of Jar Jars and then shake it, it's Jar Jar Clinks. It's great. But yes, no, you are entirely correct. Today's episode is all about multiclassing. Let's get to it. So today's episode is all about multiclassing, everyone's go-to when they realise halfway through a campaign that they've picked the wrong class and want to spice life up a bit.
Yes.
Or for those that are trying to cheese your way into an unstoppable build, to those I say go fuck yourself.
Cleric
royally.
Fighter.
Yep.
Anything fighter.
Yep. Any other comments to those people?
Well, when you go fuck yourself, you invite your family too, because they shouldn't have invited you in the first place. Who let you play D&D animals?
That's horrible. Yeah, I'm gonna say no more on that because it'll get me in trouble. So, Connor.
Hello.
I spent my life as a humble stripper earning copper pieces. Connor pieces.
Okay.
For a look at my ass crack, but I want to multiclass into an adventurer. How can I use my existing skills in combat battles that I'll face? What am I doing?
You could, my stepdad actually says this, that in any fight you should just pull your trousers down and walk calmly towards the person. Because no matter what situation, they are not going to fuck with you. And if they do, they're fucking you. They're not fucking with you. And that's a genuine quote from Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Trademark.
Thank you, Chris. Trademark. I was a stripper with an arse that won't quit.
Okay,
I think you should use that to your advantage. Yep. Also, it would mean the DM has to now think of a new hit die, like a new hit die, damage die, maybe a D100 for all that cheek.
D100. That took me by surprise.
And every time you get to hit someone, you say "Happy Hump Day."
Happy from day what?
So I'm assuming from that you're still a stripper, but you're multiclassing into a barbarian or a fighter.
You know what?
Up
I'm
to
happy
you.
with that. Yeah,
Up to you.
I would have thought you would have said bard or something.
Oh no, there's no charisma involved. Where
No,
the
true.
hole is a goal.
True, or a rogue because you're extra sneaky with it, depending on which way you want to go about
Actually,
it.
it'd be quite terrifying. You know, if you're just like a regular guard, a regular henchman, you're walking about and you're like, hang on, senses are coming in. It's like high
Something's
passive,
coming in.
high passive perception,
Yeah.
and you're like, there's something behind me, isn't there? And you turn around, sweat drips down your forehead, and there's just bent over, gaping arseholes staring at you, like being caught by Alien. So maybe a rogue would be a good one.
That's horrible. That perfectly describes my average dream as well. So thanks for that. I think
That's all right.
that sums up nicely. Yeah. So if you ever wanted to multiclass from a stripper into a rogue, you know how.
My cheeks hurt.
They will.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the questions. So,
Yes.
what are some common or good multiclass options you can think of that you see players do a lot? Or would work well, do you think?
I think everyone multiclasses into a fighter for like, what, three
the
levels?
Yeah,
5
for the
levels?
action surge, just for level 2.
Just for the action. Oh yeah, the level 2. That's it. Yeah. So and because I've never done that, so I either just play as a fighter, and that's it really.
Or start as a fighter and might multiclass into something with more spells.
I'm not looking to do it to get the extra damage.
No.
You know, the extra turns. Actions. Sorry. Yeah. What else can we?
I think
the rogue people just kind of stick with rogue.
Yeah,
I've not seen them change.
Some classes as well. I think the problem some classes have is that, for example, I was in the Black Shores campaign. I'm playing a paladin, and I was tempted. Should I multiclass it just to, like I said earlier, spice that character up a bit? But the problem with a lot of classes is they're consistently good for the level ups, and each buff you have at different levels will actually help your character overall. So that's why I'm not multiclassing.
Especially as you get further into it.
Exactly.
It's kind of fun to multiclass, or at least I think I multiclassed once. And that was literally for my character. It actually was at my detriment. It wasn't a good thing that I did, but
for roleplay purposes.
It made for roleplay, but then everyone was like, "Why would you multiclass? It's rubbish." But yeah, I think if you're having fun and you know it's going to be like up to level 10, multiclass, have a bit of fun with it. But I think for me, sticking to your guns, sticking to that character throughout, is really beneficial. You get the more out of it, the more you go on. You know,
definitely can be. Like you said, it depends on how you're going to play it.
Barbarian. In the new rules, I think you're looking at Barbarian Druid.
Yeah.
Interesting one.
Bit of a different one, but we'll explain that in another question.
Yeah. Okay.
But the ones I were thinking for that, or my mind immediately went to, is anything with the same kind of modifier. For example, a Paladin and a Bard, or a Warlock, because they're both using the Charisma modifier.
Yes.
Or a Druid and a Cleric. Obviously, when you get to Wizards, that's the only one that uses Intelligence, so it doesn't work with that, but anything like that will work, because then you've already got... If you're start off as a Bard, for example, you already have high Charisma, and you want to multiclass into a Warlock that uses Charisma, you're already set up, so...
And also, if you ignore that stat, if you ignore that modifier, all three, like, you know, the Bard, the Warlock, and the Paladin, all kind of are, like, you know, they do their own thing, and they happen to have a little bit of magic. Exactly. I know the Warlock is very much about magic, but it doesn't have such a wide range of spells and things compared to other casters, so it does still fit in that I'm a kind of bit of a roleplay aspect, but I also have this, you know, something that works quite nicely actually.
When do you think players should multiclass, and when shouldn't they?
Well, as I just said, I think if you're going to multiclass, I think it should be early on rather than later. Because one, it kind of helps you work out what kind of character you're going to be building. Yeah. Hopefully you thought about that to then want to multiclass rather than just multiclass for the extra benefits. Yeah. But also, I think at like level 10-ish, if you are going to multiclass, it might be a good time then, because if you've got, say you've got most of the stuff out of the way, or I guess halfway through the class itself, then you go, do I need that extra couple of stats? Am I looking to see this out till level 20? Probably not. Most campaigns don't go that far. So maybe around then that you can dabble with a few levels
to try and experiment
else.
In the end game kind of thing.
Yeah, just to see what else can be a bit fun after you've probably done a lot, at that point, over 100 sessions.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
When do you think players shouldn't multiclass? And kind of... going into the next question with this, which we'll go into prerequisites and things like that in a second, but are there any reasons you wouldn't allow a player to?
If I knew that they were going to multiclass just to be unbeatable, then I would say no.
Yeah,
and as we talk about quite often, you don't ever really want to say no. I think a good DM doesn't say no.
No, exactly.
But when it is literally like, I'm doing this to cheese this, to literally make your life boring and everyone else boring, why would I want that at my table? Yeah,
I think in the situations where, let's say you've got a full backstory, you've got your character fully fleshed out at level 1 kind of thing, and you're seeing them through the world. If you then halfway through decide, I'm going to multiclass into something that does not fit my character at all, and if you then question them and you find out it's to get a certain ability and it's to make sure they can't be hit, I think those are the times where it's a bit like,
and I think
stop playing.
After playing, I mean, I've been playing for 3 years now, and even quite early on, you hear the same kind of words come up of what people. We even just did a classes whole section of topics on classes. You know the kind of perks people are going to have, right?
Yeah.
Like the feats they're going to choose. So when you start to hear them all the time, you then know that people use them for certain things. So when that doesn't make sense, you instantly go, all right, you're doing it for this. You don't need to be that. You don't need to be that much an expert to get people choosing it quite often.
No, exactly. I think I definitely agree with the fact that you should never really say no about it, though. Just like kind of speak to them and see what they're doing, because I think we've said this I've said this in previous episodes, where for me, if a player joins my table with a broken build, I don't mind, as long as the player is a good player. Because if some people, they're gonna just be a dick about it, but some people are the best players and they have broken characters, but they don't play it in a broken way. So
that's true. That's true.
Depends.
Was you going to say something?
I was just going to mention the prerequisites.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So I've got them all here, just so I don't forget. So just for new players that are wondering about multiclassing, each class that you go into, you need to have a minimum certain ability score. So for example, if you're looking to multiclass into a barbarian, you need to have a minimum strength of 13. I think it's 13 for each skill, but for like a bard, obviously you need charisma, cleric you need wisdom, druid wisdom. It's whatever spell or whatever their main ability score is, you need a minimum of 13 with that. So if you've got 9 strength, you cannot or 9 intelligence, you cannot multiclass into a wizard. Because for a fighter, it's strength or dex, monkey's dex or wisdom, paladin, strength or charisma, and a ranger's dex or wisdom. The rest are just individual ones. And
also that depends, I mean, I don't know why that ruling isn't in place in the first place from Wizards of the Coast. But, I mean, to me, it makes sense because that way you do kind of, it buffers people from just doing whatever they want and making those builds. People will get around that, but there are servers where, it's literally down to the DM, right? That they might go, they won't even question this prerequisite. They might go, yeah, sure, and that also might be fun. Like they might be that open and happy for people to just do what they want.
Yeah, it's just down to whatever you prefer running, isn't it, really?
Yeah, if you're up for it as a player, if you're up for it as a DM, that's it really. But those requisites are there to stop people just cheesing everything.
And it makes sense. If you're playing as a wizard with 8 strength, 8 strength and 8 dex, let's say, why should you then have the ability to action surge? Like if you want to class him to a fighter?
I guess the worst one that I've seen, going back to that question of like when is the worst time, I've seen people try to multi-class literally at level 2. So at level 1, I mean, they've literally played a session and then they've tried to multi-class. At that point, you might as well just let them change class. But they probably think that they're going to keep bouncing between everything and then realise that it doesn't add up that way. You don't get 20 levels in each class.
One thing as well on that note, for any new players looking to multi-class, because this is on the topic of kind of when shouldn't you, multiclassing might seem like a great option, but I'm pretty sure the rule of thumb is never multiclass more than twice. Because let's say if you multiclass 5 times and you're 5 different classes, it's great, but each class is only going to get to a maximum of level 4.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of abilities, but you have a lot of low-level abilities. So when you're in a level 20 campaign, you're useless against bosses and things like that.
You are, yeah. I mean, take it as you are level 4 with just some added perks. Like you've not got much going on for yourself.
No, exactly.
So it's you have a range, but against who?
Yeah. But I think that covers that one nicely. So 2 more questions. One, or the second to last.
Okay.
What are some like uncommon multi-class options you can think of that might work well? Ones that you might have seen a few times or not seen at all, but even just picking 2 random classes out your mind. You think?
I tell you, I thought about this the other day was Blood Hunter after we did that topic.
Yep.
But mixing that with a paladin, because it's kind of like a, to me it's like a wit, like like a demon hunter kind of witch hunter version of a paladin.
Yeah.
But it has it has those the bloods. What's it called?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
It's like blood magic kind of
blood
thing.
magic.
Yeah,
and I think that would be quite cool as a. I mean, that's probably like. Paladins are ridiculously like broken anyway, but at least in 2014. But like to mix that up, it'd be quite good considering that unless you're an Oathbreaker, which kind of ruins the roleplay aspect of what I'm thinking of. But if you are kind of tainted with this blood magic, you're trying to keep it secret, but you happen to also be trying to keep your oath, and it's a very internal conflict. I think that would be a really cool multi-class, like roleplay.
Yeah, it definitely could.
As long as the DM allows that, and that's kind of what you're facing the whole time.
Yeah.
Maybe that final boss you come across happens to be like this demon that's trying to take over you or something,
It'd be cool to see someone roleplay that as like a Jekyll and Hyde situation.
Yeah,
where you've
100%.
got like the good paladin, but then every now and then the more evil blood hunter comes out.
Yeah.
I think
that'd be a cool, like really contested kind of internal struggle.
Yeah.
As long as you don't just use it as an excuse to just hit your teammates when you're like, oh, sorry, that was Jackal.
Well, there goes my plan.
Yeah.
Some players deserve it.
You got any combos?
Like I said, there's the one I'm going to try at some point, and that's Druid Barbarian. That's in the new rules, though. But I'm sure it'll exist in 5e somewhere, and I just like the idea of being mainly a barbarian, the Path of the Wild Heart, whatever it's called, where you're more in tune to a beast, and when you rage, you get like beast-like properties, but then going one step further, having a couple of levels into Druid where after you've embraced that for long enough, you wild shape into that beast.
Yeah.
Which I really like that combination. It's less about the actual spells you can cast as a druid, because when you're raging you can't cast spells, but it's just more for the, not even necessarily the roleplay or the combat, it's more just the idea of it I really like.
Yeah.
Like I said, a barbarian that embraces the animal side that much, he becomes one. I just like that idea.
Yeah. I tell you another good one I was thinking of. I don't know how that would work, but what's his name in Rogue One where he says, I am one with the forces with me?
Chirrut Imwe.
Chirrut Imwe. Wouldn't it be good as like a monk bard?
Yeah, that would be cool, to be honest.
He's got the charisma. I mean, he is a monk in that, right? But he has this kind of charisma about him. He'd be quite cool as like a mandolin player, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then having those abilities to actually like defend themselves at the same time.
Yeah.
And not really take on the magic aspect of it, but that charisma and the instrument playing.
That would be really cool.
That would be quite a cool concept. I don't know how that would work mechanically, but
I'm sure we could figure.
I'm always just thinking roleplay. I
mean, roleplay I think is the one you need to think of when multiclassing more, because if you think more in the combat, that's when you run the risk of being a dick.
Yeah, I don't think I know enough to. I mean, the only multiclassing I ever did was poor. Fun for me, but poor to help people.
Well, as long as you're having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So, final question, and this is. There doesn't necessarily have to be an answer for this, but are there any ways that you would go about implementing multiclassing for a character that wants to? Like, more in terms of roleplay. So let's say I wanted to multiclass my paladin into a bard or a fighter or something.
Yeah.
Would you just let them do that, or can you think of any ways you could implement that into the story?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
in the build-up and when they get that level.
Maybe straight off the bat, you could have like a bit of a side quest that involves everyone, but maybe one of the NPCs that paladin comes across, one of those items they need for that adventure, they just give him like a loot, and you're like, well, what would I do with this? And you can imagine that's what a paladin would say.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, you have to understand that yourself. And it's kind of that cool, that like Obi-Wan journey of like finding the force within you to understand why you need,
and like every rest up until they actually level up, like they have to spend it practicing kind of thing.
Yeah, like you become attuned to the item, but then that gives you the ability to, once you level up, take your experiences in game to multi-class in. I think that can work.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's the kind of thing I was thinking of, let's say a warlock or a paladin or something like that you want to or even a cleric. you could run something where, let's say you start off as a fighter and you want to turn into a cleric. Then you're doing all this, you're doing those side quests, not necessarily related to being a cleric, but at one point you that character's done something amazing, let's say, and that deity that they want to eventually go down approaches them or sends a messenger to them and says, I could use your skill, that kind of thing, and make the player build some kind of relationship with whatever deity they're going to be following. And then run it that way. To be honest, there's probably endless possibilities you can do
100%.
with it.
I mean, both of those are kind of like a Gandalf, Obi-Wan, kind of anyone who's like a grey old man who gives a quest that, it's all about you finding yourself. I think that can work. Obviously, in the Blackshore, we have where you have stats that you can obtain outside of leveling. So there might be, I think you've had it once or twice now, where you've come across a random person who happens to be a master in...
Can train you
in a certain stat. So it might seem insane to people listening who are like seasoned players, but like, you can't just gain a stat. But actually, you'd be surprised how much fun that is for players when they've got to roll some seriously good rolls to gain something that's worth more than its weight of gold.
And with the 5 players we've got, only one person has succeeded once. So...
And there's 3 rolls for each person.
And
they arguably it was the worst stat you could gain for that character.
Don't know why I picked it.
There we go.
One thing I will say as a final thing on that, I just thought if you want to lean more away from the Obi-Wan Gandalf kind of thing, even just let's say you want to multiclass into a ranger, they find a bow that is sentient, and it's like trying to, or it's got some properties that draws it to him, and he becomes obsessed with it.
That's cool. And just thinking about it, you could have it where it might be a demonic item that kind of takes over and gives them that. So it wouldn't even be the character's choice, but the DM implementing something that's part of the story, but it gives them...
And they force that onto them.
So they force the storyline onto them, but the benefit of that is that the character has the option to multi-class. And it doesn't mean they have to, but, once they go no, then the DM can work out a way of naturally... that storyline coming to an end, but it just gives a bit of flavour.
It'd be cool if the player didn't know, if they knew they wanted to multiclass but didn't know that's what the DM were doing as well, because then the character still feels like they're being forced to it, but they want it.
You want it to feel natural. And really, I mean, I've said no to you guys on bits where you go, I want to do this with my paladin, I want to be an Oathbreaker. All right, well, why? You're not just going to get that. I mean, it might seem mental, and I think we talked about this on like 2 seasons ago, but it's way better for it to happen you
naturally
than you just ask for it and get it. Because what have you experienced in that? Nothing.
No, definitely, completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you, unfortunately. And which means that today's episode is sadly coming to an end. But we'll be back again next week with the topic: Is God autistic? Is that why he spent 7 days speedrunning creation just to disappear for thousands of years?
Yes, I did.
What? Fucking no.
Okay, well, sorry. And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in on the God creating speedrunning 7 days on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at How to Play D&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server, or go to heaven and join us there. And for BTS of sessions, believers, blogs, early access to episodes, and even live Q&As, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/howtoplaydnd. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Lewis McCaffery.
Good day.
Goodbye.